Tonight on KGW News, more fallout for this food processing plant that exploded in eastern Oregon. Workers are now worried about their jobs, what they're doing to try to stay employed. And later, a rough start to a new life in Portland.
It was a real slap in the face, I don't know how else to say. It's just a shock.
Thieves take off with the couple's valuables during their more than 1,200-mile drive to Oregon. But first,
right now, Ukrainians do feel like they're fighting on their own.
People show their support for Ukraine as we learn more about Russia's invasion of their country. Your news starts now. Tonight, photos and videos of the devastation continue to emerge from Ukraine after yesterday, Russian President Vladimir Putin launched a large-scale attack on the country, bringing war to Europe. Russia is bombarding major cities across Ukraine with missile strikes, so far largely targeting military installations and airfields. Ukrainian officials report 57 people have been killed. President Biden again promised U.S. troops will not be fighting inside Ukraine, but did say more troops will head to Germany to help with NATO's response to the Russian invasion. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter. Here at home, people in Portland came together to show their support for Ukraine with a rally along the waterfront. This was the scene tonight near the Salmon Street Springs water fountain. People came with flags and banners and signs following the devastation in Ukraine. Those we talked to say they're rallying to bring awareness and supplies to those in the country.
Right now, it seems that Ukraine is fighting alone. And the message is, if you don't stop Putin now in Ukraine, the Baltics, Poland, other Eastern European countries will be next.
Right now, local groups are trying to send medical supplies to Ukraine, but they're worried they might be stuck in Portland for days or even weeks because of airport closures and supply chain disruptions. They said they're working to figure out what to do next. It's progress in Portland's push to open 6 tiny house or safe rest villages for people who are homeless. The final 6 sites have been chosen. The last 4 you see here, they have the green pins on the map, were just announced late today. They're scattered across the city in North Portland, downtown, and southeast. That's in addition to the 2 already announced last year. Here's Maggie Vespa with the latest.
Today, we're here to announce an emergency declaration that Mayor Wheeler has signed to help us keep moving forward on building of the Safe Rest Villages.
Portland's housing commissioner is sick of bureaucracy slowing him down. In a press conference Thursday, Dan Ryan made 2 announcements. One, the city has chosen its final 6 sites for Safe Rest Villages, including those 4 new ones in green. We'll get to that in a moment. Announcement number 2, half those sites are owned by various city bureaus, and infighting between those bureaus has been slowing the project down. Enter, Ryan said, a solution, an emergency declaration giving control of those sites to Mayor Ted Wheeler, who will then turn over that control to Commissioner Ryan. Ryan acknowledging this is frustrating to people at home who just want the city to get this done.
They just can't believe what they're seeing, and they want government to behave and expedite and partner like never before. And I think what you're witnessing today is a big step in that direction.
Amid a mounting housing crisis, Commissioner Ryan called this a big win. He vowed to open all 6 Safe Rest Villages, tiny house villages with services attached, this year, spring at the earliest. Without further ado, the locations. Among those 4 new sites in green, 1 in North Portland near Peninsula Crossing, 1 in Northeast at Sunderland and 33rd. There's 1 downtown along Northwest NATO just north of the Broadway Bridge. Then finally, this one in Southeast. That's in addition to the 2 chosen last year in red. The Menlo Park Ride in Southeast Portland and the Sears Army Reserve Center on Southwest Multnomah Boulevard. Neighbors around these new sites just started finding out about this week. News that has rattled homeowners in the past.
They're just dropping it in our laps and saying, deal with it.
At the same time, KGW's heard from countless people living on the streets who just want these tiny house villages, holding roughly 300 people total, to open as soon as possible. They say they don't understand the delay.
My big question is why? Do you know why?
That was Maggie Vespa reporting. The commissioner's office says they're working with neighbors to answer questions. Each village will hold about 50 people at any given time, with the idea that within 6 to 9 months, people get stable, get services, and get into permanent housing. Now to an update to a story we've been following all this week. After a food processing plant was destroyed in an explosion, employees are worried they may be out of a job in a matter of weeks. On Tuesday, flames tore through the Beshears Foods plant in Hermiston. A portable boiler explosion sent at least 6 people to the hospital. Fortunately, they were all treated and released, but now they're facing the prospect of unemployment. At a meeting Thursday morning, employees received a letter stating they're eligible for a minimum of 5 weeks' pay, at which point COBRA insurance benefits kick in. Workers said they've started a petition in hopes of saving their jobs. We reached out to the company for comment. A spokesperson told us what they relayed to employees today is an interim plan to ease any immediate concerns. In the coming days, the company will be evaluating the damage from the fire and making decisions as to the short and long-term viability of the Hermiston facility. A couple relocating to Portland got a less than warm welcome when they arrived in town last night. Thieves stole their U-Haul moving truck with their entire life packed inside. KGW's Alma McCarty shares their plea for its return.
After 3 long days
We tried to take our time getting here.
and more than 1,000 miles,
We came through just horrendous windstorms and everything to get here.
Jennifer Beltz said it was a real relief to finally arrive in the Portland area Wednesday.
When we got here last night thinking, okay, here we are. We're just almost to Portland. We're close enough. This is where we want to be. We don't want to mess with city traffic. We'll get up in the morning and then we'll be able to take the truck over to the house and start unloading our stuff.
Jennifer and her partner Jeff stayed here at this Comfort Inn in Troutdale, just off I-84. The last stop before completing the big move from Flagstaff, Arizona to southeast Portland.
Sold my house, packed up all my belongings, and my partner and I moved out here. He owns a house here in Southeast, and we've been having it renovated, and we're all set to move in today.
Those plans put on pause after thieves stole their moving truck around 11 Wednesday night. Jennifer tells me she got up and looked into the parking lot around 1 in the morning. The U-Haul truck and the attached trailer pictured here were gone.
I couldn't really believe it, like, are we groggy? Are we dreaming? And then it really sunk in.
The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says security camera footage from the hotel shows 2 people pull up in a silver SUV. One person broke into the truck, started it up, and drove off, hauling away decades worth of sentimental items, family photos, heirlooms, and everything else.
They just did it like it was easy. We know Portland is full of wonderful people, but this really wasn't the way to get started.
Deputies are now asking for the public's help in locating the truck, trailer, and everything inside. The 20-foot U-Haul truck has a unique picture of a hawk and an Arizona license plate. The trailer, an Indiana license plate.
If somebody could see it, it would be so great to let us know.
Now, she wasn't kidding about her entire life being inside of the truck. Some of the items include furniture, clothes, sports equipment, artwork from friends, and a handmade wool braided rug. If you've spotted the truck or the trailer, contact Multnomah County deputies.
Oh, this is just so maddening. There are so many great people in Portland. Alma, I hope that we can all come together and show Jennifer and Jeff that that's the case, and I hope they get their trailer back. Thank you. And farm workers in Oregon are one step closer to qualifying for overtime pay. House Bill 4002 passed out of the special committee today and is now headed to the Joint Ways and Means Committee for approval. California and Washington passed similar laws introducing overtime pay to agricultural workers. Oregon would make the 3rd state with these protections. The Pacific Northwest is working toward a return to normal life amid the ongoing pandemic. Oregon's now planning to drop most mask rules sooner than expected. The mandate was initially set to end March 31st, but today the Oregon Health Authority moved it up to March 19th. That's nearly 2 weeks sooner that most indoor settings, including schools, will be able to end the mask requirement and make face coverings optional. Now, the reason for this is the fast drop in Omicron infections and with it, COVID hospitalizations. OHA says the number of COVID patients in the hospital has dropped 48% since a peak in late January. Infections are also down 80% in the past month.
My forecast this week shows us hitting 400 on March 12th. And so, maybe even before that March 20th date. So I think that's a safe date to think that we'd be at 400.
This is due to your collective efforts to get vaccinated, wear masks, limit gatherings, and to faithfully follow the public health protocols.
Many local school officials told state leaders they wanted to see the mask mandate end for them at the same time as for the general public. And because of that, the state's working on updating other health safety protocols to make the move successful. But one thing to point out, the mask mandate will remain in effect in healthcare settings. We should also mention Governor Kate Brown announced today she will lift the COVID emergency declaration on April 1st. It gives the state some flexibility and additional federal dollars. Off the clock.